Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I'm your host, Dave, and I recorded this episode live last night in Brownton, Abbey, the home of our good friend, Mr. Beau Brown, the director of the Dragon Con puppetry track, and world-renowned puppeteer and puppeteer coordinator, I guess. I don't know. He needs a title. The ambassador of puppetry for the whole planet. If aliens invade and demand to see the best of our puppetry, we will need to send them to Mr. Beau Brown. Anyway, that's enough accolades for that guy. We recorded a conversation, but this is something new, because normally when we're talking to Beau, we're talking about puppetry or we're talking about Masters of the Universe, and we do cover both of those things, but we talk about a lot of other stuff as well. After we were done with rehearsal for something that we're working on that I'll tell you about in a minute, we just sat down and continued drinking delicious adult beverages and just talked about whatever came up, and it was fun, and we enjoyed it. I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well. So that is this week's episode of the podcast. Now, I'll tell you this. If you have any sort of awareness of the rotation of things here at Needless Things, you know that this would be the Friday where we typically have a Needless commentary. But as I've mentioned many times over the last few months, scheduling has been really hairy for everybody. We've been shorthanded at work. Ryan Cadaver and Nicole are working on a movie, and Arian's just cranky, and our pal Rad Ranger has all kinds of crazy work stuff going on, and I'm just kidding about Arian being cranky. He's the unfortunate side effect who has been pretty able to work around everybody else's dumb stuff, but everybody else's dumb stuff has kept us from doing pretty much anything. So that's a long-winded way of saying stay tuned. Needless Commentaries will return on a regular basis next month in June. We already know what movie we're watching because we were supposed to be watching it this month, but we just haven't been able to get our shit together. It's been crazy, but now that the year's half over, maybe we can finally breathe. So, I mentioned that I was rehearsing with Mr. Beau Brown on a thing that we're doing. The other person that was there with us was Matt Nitchie. Now, Matt Nitchie and Beau Brown are the gentlemen behind the Sci-Fi Janitors. If you're not familiar with them, you can look up Bob and Carl on YouTube. Just Google Sci-Fi Janitors. You'll find lots of insanely hilarious, awesome, nerdy videos involving these adorable little puppet guys, Bob and Carl. So, the Sci-Fi Janitors, well known in the nerd community, particularly in the Dragon Con community, and the opportunity to work with those guys was great. I talk about that when I'm talking to Beau, but what we're working on is a portion of something called 5/5 of the Princess Bride, which is happening at the Atlanta Fringe Festival on Monday, June the 3rd at 8 p.m. at the Seven Stages Theater. And what it is 5 different groups of creator/entertainer people are acting out, performing, interpreting the Princess Bride in some way. And we kind of lucked out and got the last fifth of the movie, and I will be portraying Fezzik, the role made famous by the legendary Andre the Giant, and all of the other roles will be played by, except I think I've got a couple of vocal things that are me, but all the rest of the roles will be played via puppets and some live action tomfoolery by Beau and by Matt. And Matt is Beau we know. Beau's our pal. He's been on the show tons of times. You've probably seen him perform. You've at least heard him talk. But Matt is a really busy actor, theater person. He works at the Shakespeare Tavern in Atlanta, which is a place that I have a great deal of respect for, and is just tremendous. It's been very interesting collaborating creatively on a completely different thing with completely different minds from the game show folks that I'm used to working with. And we all are look at things. We all have different perspectives. We all have different areas of expertise. And it's been just absolutely fascinating being part of that pre-existing unit and then coming in and seeing how everything works and contributing. It's just been amazing for me. And I need my creative outlets to keep myself sane, and this has really been doing the trick lately. So I'm very excited about this. Please come out. You can go to atlantafringe.org and find everything you need to know about the Fringe Festival. But this is Monday, June 3rd, 8 p.m., 7 Stages Theater. Tickets are available now from atlantafringe.org. And there is also a Facebook event. If you look up Atlanta Fringe 5/5 Princess Bride, then you'll find the event, and you can come out and have fun. And there's going to be limited seating for this thing. And, as it draws nearer, the more of those tickets are going to sell. This is a special, focused thing, a one-time only type deal. So if you're interested in seeing the Sci-Fi Janitors and Dave West act out the last fifth of the Princess Bride, and you should be. Let me just tell you, you should be. Then look into that. And that's what I've got going on right now. Aside from listening to the Major Wrestling Figures podcast, which, by the way, on needlessthingspodcast.com this week, I put up the list I had compiled of every WCW wrestler that has been released under Mattel's Elite banner. If that's something of interest to you, go check that out on needlessthingspodcast.com. Thanks to the Major Wrestling Figures podcast, I'm not as deep into wrestling figures as I could have been, because I am very easy to manipulate into wanting new toys, believe it or not. But I have sort of found a thing I'm going to do, and just listening to Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins talk about wrestling toys, and new and old, is very, very entertaining to me. And then the last thing I've got to put over before we get to our actual episode, MomoCon 2019 is right around the corner. It is May 23rd through the 26th in Atlanta at the World Congress Center. I'm sorry, I'm trying to bring up my page here. I've got the guest list up right now. But, I mean, you guys know how it works. All you have to do is Google MomoCon, and you will see everything that you need to know. Go on Facebook. It's oriented towards a younger crowd than Dragon Con for the most part, and they really take advantage of social media. If you get on Instagram, look for MomoCon, follow them on Facebook. They're on top of things, and just about every panel there has a Facebook event, so it's very easy to go and see what's going on. If you're a big Facebook user, that's a great way to do it. But you can also go to momocon.com and check out everything that's going on. One of the cool things they've got happening is A New World, intimate music from Final Fantasy. The producers of the live orchestra performance phenomenon Distant Worlds, music from Final Fantasy, are proud to present another breathtaking Final Fantasy music experience. A New World, intimate music from Final Fantasy, presents music selected from the entire Final Fantasy catalog, all 15 games now? 16? I don't even know. In fresh arrangements for small ensembles, giving the audience a surprisingly personal encounter with the beloved themes, characters, and settings. With input from Arnie Roth, Nobuo Uematsu, and other performers and composers associated with the games. A New World joins Distant Worlds as the only Final Fantasy concert tours officially licensed by renowned developer Square Enix, or Squeenix, as I've been calling them since they joined forces. Featuring a new repertoire. Merchandise will be available for purchase after the event. So, that's awesome. Live music from video games is a very unique, interesting experience, and if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, which I would imagine, say that 5 times fast, fan of Final Fantasy, I would imagine if you're going to MomoCon, you probably have at least heard of Final Fantasy, but hearing video game scores live is awesome, period. That's just, it's something that maybe doesn't immediately sound like, oh, that's something I need to do. But it is. It really is. Because you usually hear them in the context of being active. You know, it's not like watching a movie. When you're playing a game, you're playing a game. And being able to sit back and enjoy that music in a different way is really cool. Okay, who else have we got? Asheru, American hip-hop artist who you may know from providing the theme for the Boondocks. That song is badass. And you can check out, obviously, ASHERU. Go Google it right now. Hear the rest of his music. Before you meet him live at MomoCon, he will only be there Friday, though. So be ready to get out and check that out. Let's see. Bit Brigade will be there. You know who Bit Brigade is. They cover video game songs, and they're awesome. And again, Google Bit Brigade if you don't know. But I find it hard to believe any of you don't know. Let's see here. Brendan Fletcher, who you know from the Batgirl for DC. He's a tremendously talented comic creator. Just scrolling through. Lots of cosplayers here. I'm not going to mention them because I don't know who they are, and I'm not going to act like I do. These are all like younger generation cosplayers that if you want to know who's going to be there, momocon.com is the way to go. But just lots of video gaming guests, lots of animation guests, obviously tons of cosplayers, YouTubers I haven't heard of. Apparently the word is online broadcasters. So lots of online broadcasters. I'll be honest, and I told you guys this last year when I covered MomoCon, a lot of this stuff has no resonance for me. But what I enjoy is the atmosphere. Everybody down there loves everything that they're into. There's so much enthusiasm. There's so much just love in the air. And they dance so much. These kids never stop dancing. And my own son, who's 11, dances all the time. And I feel like maybe dancing is what's going to save this sorry world of ours. Could be. And you know, going to Momo, oh, look, our pal Kyle Starks is going to be there. Holy cow. I need to contact him and see if I can finally sit down and talk to him on the show. Holy cow. I'm going to shoot him a tweet because that's how he communicates. I'm going to tweet that guy as soon as I can. I talked to him at Heroes Con a few times, and I really want to sit down and interview him on the show. So I'm going to do that. And you know what, you guys? I think that's as much... Oh, no, look. Our pal Michael Mosley, costumer, professional wrestler, who creates costumes for New Day in the WWE. He's awesome. He's great. He's been on the show. I need to have him back on the show. And he will be down there at MomoCon all weekend long, which is fantastic. So here's the thing. Patrick Warburton's going to be down there, too. This is wild. So there's a few people here I'm interested in seeing and I'm familiar with. But, you know, even if you look over this list of people, Steve Bloom, awesome. Even if you look over this list of people, and Suda51, if you're from the GameCube era of Nintendo, or if you're around for that, you know the name Suda51, probably from Killer 7, which was a weird, awesome game. Even if you look at this list and you're like, wow, I don't know how much is on there is of interest to me, being in that environment for an afternoon, for a day, for however long you want to go down there is refreshing and invigorating and positive and hopeful. There's no vibe like MomoCon. And you guys know how much I love Dragon Con, and I do, and it'll always forever be my favorite convention. But there's something about MomoCon that's a little different. It's a little special. And I can't wait. I'm so excited to get back down there and just be around these vital individuals. I'm like an old vampire who goes down there and just low-key feeds off the energy of all these wonderful young people. And then I slink back to my hotel room and sleep early because I don't dance the way these people dance. So there you go. MomoCon, it's going to be awesome. MomoCon.com. Check out Facebook for all the events. It's great. I'm excited to be going back. And, of course, Atlanta Fringe Festival. You're going to want to check that out, particularly on June the 3rd at Seven Stages Theater for 5/5 of The Princess Bride. I think that's as much putting over of things as I can reasonably do this week, and now it is time to sit down with our super good buddy, Mr. Beau Brown, and just talk about things and stuff, including a couple instances of me being sort of a dick. They're amusing, and they're not, like, overt, but I just, every once in a while, I like to share that we're all just human and nobody's perfect, especially not me. So now here's some Mystery Men and then some Beau Brown. Live.
Hello, live from
Browntown?
Brownton Abbey.
Brownton Abbey.
Brownton Abbey.
Ooh. So, I don't know entirely for sure what we're going to talk about. I'm sure at some point Masters of the Universe is going to come up.
Because it's literally all around us.
It is literally all around us, including this beautiful dragon, whose name I can't remember right now. Granomir.
Green Granomir. That's the...
Granomir is the shit.
Mini comics Granomir. Yeah.
Who was a PowerCon exclusive last year or 2 years ago?
Oh, way,
2 or 3 years ago?
5 years ago.
5? No, it wasn't 5.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
But we're not going to start with that.
No.
What I want to start with, I've been saving a couple of nuggets to share with you.
Oh, in your back pocket?
Back pocket nuggets, just for you.
Thank you.
I stopped at Target on the way over here because that's part of my life as an insane toy collector. Mm-hmm. I go to any Target. Like if I'm going somewhere, I go into Waze and I put in where I'm going, and then I put in Target and I look to see how far off, like how many minutes it adds to my trip. So I stopped at a Target on the way over here, and when I parked, I got out of my car, and as I'm walking towards the Target, this lady. Who also just parked, got out of her car, a very attractive young lady, walks out in front of me. And it's that awkward thing. Now, you're pretty tall, but you're not
as tall as you.
You're not Dave Big.
Sure,
I'm a big, tattooed dude. And I'm kind of conscious of my presence.
Yeah, you don't want to be following ladies around.
Right,
sure, yeah.
But we're both walking into Target. So I can either just keep going with her in front of me, or I can do something like even more weird, like pretend I have business in some other area of the parking lot. So I just follow her in. And I had driven from the house, which is not too far from here, but is just far enough that I really needed to pee. Going into Target, I'm like, I'm going to go into the restroom as soon as I get into Target. And I am maintaining a distance, 15 feet, 20 feet, or more.
For Jesus.
Right, for Jesus. I don't want her to be within arm's reach of my penis. I feel like that's an appropriate distance.
Your arms or her arms?
Her arms. So that's less distance.
I would maybe play it safe and have a bigger reach.
Maybe I should be able to lay on the ground.
Like an Abraham Lincoln's arms distance.
Yes, that's good.
In a radius.
That's good. Let's remember that cosplay is not consent. So an Abraham
Lincoln's length
between you and a cosplayer
to be safe. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we go walk into Target, and of course she goes straight to the restrooms. I can't. I have to make a choice. I'm like, I'm just gonna have to hold it until I get to Beau's.
Now, was the restroom right next to customer service?
Entrance. Yeah, it's right to the right.
Was there a line at customer service?
No, there was nothing.
Because I could have said you could have ponied up to the line, being like, I'm just coming to customer service. But if there's no line, then you would have awkwardly walked straight up to the front of customer service and been like, I need no services.
I need some service.
I need to kill some time. Do you have any?
While I generally hold a fairly high opinion of Target, this is not what I would consider to be one of your finer Targets. So all that was at customer service was like cobwebs and maybe some boxes that needed to be broken down.
Sure.
So there was no legit business.
A couple of things that needed to get restocked.
Yeah, no, there was nothing I could do there. So she veers to the right, goes to the restroom, and I'm like, all right, I'm in for another half hour, probably. I'm just going to have to hang in there because I don't want to creep this lady out.
You couldn't have gone into the other bathroom?
Well,
but you were going to the male.
You don't understand. Being me,
sure,
I am conscious of my presence.
Did they have the little like?
Well, it's the thing where there's literally like a rectangle in the wall that goes back to the bathroom.
But I mean, I know that the Target that I go to, they have the like, here, buy some cheap crap area right outside the customer service and bathroom area right when you walk in. And so you could have been like, oh, cheap crap I don't need. Let's take a look at that.
Well, but then what am I doing? Waiting for her to walk out and then going in?
She goes into the bathroom.
Oh, she goes in and then I go in?
And then once she's through the doors, you go and use the bathroom. You ran all the way into the bathroom only to leave?
All of this is easy to say in hindsight, Beau Brown.
Well, you should have just called me and be like, Beau, I'm at the Target.
What do I do?
What do I do? And I would have talked you through it. I would have been like little Ant-Man on your shoulder. I would have talked you through it. And everything would have been fine. We could have faked a heart attack if you needed it. You know, like
next time I'll know. So anyway.
Next time, just fake a heart attack.
You're right.
And that would have neutralized the weirdness of the situation.
That's always the answer, though, isn't it? Fake a heart attack?
Yeah.
Any of life's problems.
You're a big dude. That's the thing that happens to big dudes.
Nobody would be surprised.
Exactly.
They're like, that guy eats...
You thought that your bigness was your weakness.
But it was
into your strength.
That guy...
always fake a heart attack.
That guy clearly eats a lot of Cheetos and pie.
That's right.
That heart attack
That's
is
a pie-induced heart attack.
People look at me and are literally waiting for me to have a heart attack.
Exactly.
They're shocked when I don't.
Exactly. So just give them what they want. They want to see you seize over.
So anyway, I get into Target. I make my decision.
Oh God, the story isn't over?
Oh, the story's not over?
When you got to my house.
No.
Okay,
no.
So you're in the Target.
I head back to the toy section.
She goes into the bathroom.
She goes in. She's out of the story now.
Thank goodness.
Fortunately for her and for all of the listeners, she's out of the story now. So I go to the toy section because that's where I'm going. And because every Target gets stuff differently, I won't go into all that right now. But
it's like a snowflake.
It really is like a snowflake. Not only will they have different products, but they'll all be organized differently in different areas. So Hasbro just released retro Star Wars figures. They're reproductions of the original 1977 Kenner figures, just on modern cards.
Good job, Reaction.
Huh?
Way to go, Reaction.
Right. Well, and that's why I've talked about it on the show before. Why isn't Hasbro jumping on this retro figure trend? They started.
Well, because it wasn't. Well, no. It was Reaction. I mean, they.
Well, Reaction did it with the Alien. That was the first thing that kicked off the 3 3/4 inch.
They did a bunch of other stuff.
They did a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, so they're just stealing Super 7's ideas.
But it's been years. Well,
Reaction's idea.
But anyway, Hasbro, why aren't you capitalizing on this?
Now they are.
They finally are.
Yeah.
And I got my set like 2 weeks ago because, of course, Target doesn't give a shit about street dates because they're Target. They're a big, huge franchise chain. They don't care. So I found
we'll put it out when we put it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a set is 6 figures. It's Han, Leia, Luke, Chewbacca, Darth Vader, and a Stormtrooper. Solid. I found my set, brought them home, and then on Facebook, and I have all kinds of neuroses and issues and problems with Facebook, the way that it works, the way that people interact with you.
I mean, you could have just finished the first half of that sentence.
Right. So, on Facebook, there is a gentleman who is bemoaning the fact that Target put these out before the street date. Because he, like a good upstanding citizen, went to Target on May the 12th, which is the street date, expecting to find a set of these figures. And Target was like, buddy, these things have been out for like a week.
Right.
And he had a series of Facebook rants.
Not happy. If only there was a place where he could vent those frustrations.
Beau, if only there was somebody on Facebook that he could pay attention to let him know that Target was putting that shit out a week early.
Right.
Which would be me. So I saw this rant,
And look, I have sympathy. I understand toy issues. I understand being upset about manufacturers and retailers.
He made a plan. He was like, "Oh, they're coming out this date.
I'm showing up.
I got it on my schedule.
First
I got
thing
some
in the morning."
time. Sure. Yeah.
But his old pal, Dave West, had posted a week before, 8 days before, "Hey, I found these at Target. They're out." So, went into Target today. There's another set there. Now, I don't need a second set, Beau Brown. But I totally bought a second set just to spite this guy. And didn't pay enough attention to me on Facebook.
Wow.
And later on, you bet your ass I'm going to put them up on Instagram and be like, "Set number 2, bitches."
So,
but in the
concerning your nurseries with Facebook, do you think that you're part of the solution or part of the problem?
Oh, I don't. You know what? That's an interesting point because look, I try on Facebook. I try to only promote positivity.
Positivity. Yeah. There's a lot of hate.
Every once in a while, if there's something like if I watch a movie and I don't like it,
that's fair. Yeah.
I try to couch it in terms of I didn't like this because of this. Not I never
this
just
sucks,
say
I hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
I never just say this sucks. Right. Because that's lame, and I also hate meh. Mm-hmm. That is an unintelligent response.
Meh is like not even having the wherewithal to say that you don't like it, and then articulate why you don't like it.
Right.
It's more lazy than it sucks.
And I understand that it's meant to be dismissive, but to me, that's just a lack of any kind of intellect whatsoever.
Well,
if all you have to say is meh, then just don't say anything.
Well, then you have no thoughts on the matter at all.
Right. Which is, by the way, not true. Because you have thoughts. You're just too lazy to type them out.
Right.
I try to promote things on Facebook. I try to be positive. I put stuff up like, "Hey everybody, those Star Wars retro figures are out at Target now. You should probably go to Target." So I'm not there to be a problem. I try to think about I'm putting way too much thought into fucking Facebook, but I try to think, how is this post going to affect other people? Is this going to make somebody feel shitty? Because if I post something like, "I think Dirty Dancing is a piece of shit," somebody that loves Dirty Dancing is going to see that and be like, "Oh."
Right.
Like if they have any regard for my opinion whatsoever.
Well, yeah, and those might not be the people who are going to come back and be like, "No, fuck you, Dirty Dancing is the greatest movie of all time." They're just going to see it.
And just feel bad.
And that's the thing is you don't when you say things on Facebook, you don't think as much about the people who only just see it and don't say anything.
Right.
You know, you don't have an idea really of the people that are just like bearing witness to things that you're saying that might be like, "Oh, fuck you, man, that sucks." But don't want to like. I see things that I don't like that people say on Facebook all the time.
And you just move along.
I don't say anything about it.
And that's the other thing that drives me crazy. Is when you post something and some person that you're Facebook air quotes friends with, that you never hear from, they never comment, they never do anything. Mm-hmm. The only time you hear from them, yes, exactly. The only time you hear from them is when you say something and they're like, "Well, actually, blah, 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 blah." You know what, buddy? Fuck you. I tend to block those people. Yeah. Because what's the point of that?
So I don't engage a lot. I use social media very much in my professional life.
You are very responsible with it.
I use it as a means to distribute information.
Right.
That is my 90% of what I do on Facebook is, here's this thing. I'm the stereotype. I'm the promoter guy. I'm the guy who only, I don't get personal because I like to have personal things with people in the same room as me.
Yes.
And not, just putting my, some people find that social media is a great way of getting therapy and, reaching out to people and sharing their grievances or whatever. It's just not for me.
Right.
So it's very rare for me to express opinions. I deal in facts on Facebook. I deal in this is a thing that's happening. This is what it is. I don't give a lot of opinions about how I feel about things on Facebook. And so it's very rare, and being part of the He-Man fan community is very difficult because they're a very vocal fan community.
Oh boy!
I hate to say it, but not that they're on the scale of the Star Wars fans and what the Star Wars fans have kind of become in some ways online, but like it can be a really ugly place. Specifically since the new She-Ra show has come out. It's really showed its ass a lot.
I bet.
And that is my fandom, and that is the thing. Those are the things that I'm excited about. And so I've shared, and I've talked about Snake Mountain, and the stuff. And just like you said, like this guy responds and is like, "Well, that's not like da da da," and like he named some guy. It's like, well, I guess I guess Pat something would have loved that, and I was. No idea what this guy's talking about.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
And it was just me saying, I'm going to buy it because it was I think Super 7 had made a post about the castle, and I went in there and I said, I've got mine. I think it's going to be the crown jewel of the Classics collection. This is our modern Ultimate Battleground.
Right.
Ultimate Battleground is the holy grail of playsets of classic of vintage Motu.
That's the Eternia
exactly.
With the
Eternia and Battleground.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it for us. Like this is as big as it's going to get.
Right.
All of you are complaining how big it is and how expensive it is. Well, guess what? It's not going to get bigger than this. So if we ever did Eternia, like it's
and that's the thing is like
this is it.
With the thoughts I've expressed about Snake Mountain, and I did a whole post about it, about my concerns and about my hopes and about everything, but I do want to make it clear, I have no problem with it. As far as I'm concerned, like, it's going to be worth that money.
But the people who are responding to this are like, it sucks, it's ridiculous, Super 7 doesn't know what they're doing, Super 7 sucks, I'm like...
That's... The only Super 7 doesn't know what they're doing concern should be if they're going to be able to ship it safely. As far as the execution of the thing... I think
the fact that they're shipping it like furniture and that you're paying that $150 and then it sucks, but like they're talking about the way that we're packing this, we're having to pack it like furniture.
Well, and that's the thing. Would you rather pay $150 for shipping and have it arrive intact, or would you rather pay $100 for shipping and have it fucking UPS or DSL or whatever...
Right. And have them kick it,
Right.
Yeah.
No, you don't want that. If you're going to pay $600 for the thing, pay the $150 to have it shipped correctly. I have no issue with the price, other than I just don't know. That
I think that it's so great that the sail barge worked the shipping into the price ahead of time, so there wasn't that. Because what happened with Snake Mountain was it's going to be $600. And $150 shipping. Right. Everyone went, oh!
Right.
Whereas the sail barge came out and said, $500, and this is what it is to get in on this. And, people are just going to bitch and moan about everything, which sucks that it creates so much negativity.
But that's anything.
And that's why I don't interact as much, because, like, even when I went in there to say something positive, I think this is great. I've got it. I think this is going to be awesome.
And you didn't say, and if you don't agree, you're dumb.
You're an idiot. Yeah.
You just said my personal...
And so that makes you not even want to say anything positive.
Right.
Which is horrible.
And that's the thing is, like, I don't mind conversations with people where we hash things out and we figure out, oh, you have this concern. Oh, well, that makes sense. But think about if they do this and this, then maybe that concern isn't as much to worry about. Like, there's a difference between rational human-to-human conversation and typing things on the internet.
Well, and the people who, like, you accidentally misspell a word.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then they're like, oh, here's your word misspelled. Emoji, laugh, you're an idiot. Like, that's what you decided to do with your time.
Right. So let's talk about this. You are wearing a Slime Pit shirt.
I know.
And you brought to the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group's attention an interview with Scott Knightlick, which, by the way, I recommend everyone go to the source and not go to the He-Man.org link, because He-Man.org has this refreshing ad in the corner.
Yeah.
that makes the whole screen go up and down constantly. But anyway, interview with Scott Knight, and I remembered it's Scott and not Matt. The fuck is that Matt thing? I don't know where that's coming from.
Matt, the guy that we were hanging out with earlier.
Well, but I don't think that's it. I think there's another issue there. But anyway, Scott Knight mentioned that it was going to be Castle Grayskull, then a slime pit, then Snake Mountain.
No, I think the slime pit was after Snake Mountain. I thought it was.
No. He said in his, if he had stuck around and if Mattel had kept going, slime pit was the next step after Grayskull.
It's the next logical thing. So
it really is.
That means
there's work on it.
Exactly.
At least sketches.
Because what Brian Flynn said about Snake Mountain was that that the Four Horsemen and Nate Barch had done work on Snake Mountain back at Mattel.
Well, Mattel showed us the prototype.
Exactly. So if they had already done that work, then there's probably some initial design work on the slime pit.
There's gotta be.
And you when you think about the Four Horsemen as
they've
absolute fans of
probably built a mock-up at least.
They've definitely kicked the idea around. It's not like, oh, how would you do Snake Mountain? Oh, that's something I haven't thought of.
Right.
Of course they've thought of how they would do it.
I would bet money there is at least foam or clay mock-up of the slime pit in the Four Horsemen's headquarters.
Because it is the most iconic mini playset. Because it's not Castle Grayskull.
I would say after Castle Grayskull, it's the most iconic non-figure item of Masters of the Universe. Everybody knows what a slime pit is. Everybody.
I'm trying to think if there's a vehicle.
I don't think so.
No, I think you're right.
It's actually smart of them to do Snake Mountain first, because Slime Pit will be.
It's an easy sell.
And also
it'll be smaller.
It's a finish. This is it. This is the one you've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
Even the most casual of fans knows the Slime Pit.
Right.
Everybody knows it. Because slime across every fucking toy line of the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Ghostbusters, He-Man, everything had slime.
Mm-hmm. Ninja Turtles.
It was based around ooze. Yeah. So yeah, I have no doubt whether or not Snake Mountain goes through, which I think the last thing I saw was at 35%.
35. That was a week ago though. So
was it?
Yeah. We'll see. The question is that taking in the big bad toy orders? Big bad.
Right, because that's what happened with the sail barge. Is the sail barge sat at 60% for a long time, and then the retailers came in, and that shot it over the top.
Yeah.
So probably the same. I can't imagine, because look, if you have the capital to stock up on Snake Mountains, you're going to make a better investment. Fortune.
It's a better investment than the castle.
Yes.
And people are selling the castle for $800.
Right. So if you're Big Bad Toy Store, if you're Entertainment Earth, if you're
but that $150 shipping though is a big bite, because
here's the thing, those guys aren't going to be paying that.
But they are, because you can't buy them in bulk.
No, see, if you're one of
them on a truck. Yeah.
If you're one of the big retailers, if you're Big Bad Toy Store, if you're Entertainment Earth, you say, "Hey, we're going to send a semi to pick up 20 of those things."
Right.
That's
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
shit. It probably won't be 20. It'll probably be 50.
Right. Well, and that's the downside for collectors to resell it, is that that $150 is that could be your up.
Right.
That could just eat all of your profit up of reselling.
Well, and if you go to Big Bad, I think Big Bad is taking pre-orders for $800.
Yeah.
But that's international, I believe.
Well, they're about to announce. I think they announced today that they're doing Canada, and
it's through some other website.
Yeah.
But they announced Spain, Canada,
other than Germany. Because before it was
right,
and Germany because He-Man, and
But anyway. Let's move on, because there are other facets to our conversation.
I steered the conversation.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Because we were going to talk about Snake Mountain. It's the $750 elephant in the room.
Right.
So anyway, I bought a whole set of toys just out of spite.
You did.
The other story I wanted to share with you, I've gotten huge into the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, which is not going to be your cup of tea. But these guys love toys.
And as much as I'm not like a huge professional wrestling fan, I am very aware how much of the larger Masters of the Universe fandom is also professional wrestling fans.
Well, there was a whole line of toys based on the AWA Wrestling Federation that were basically He-Man, except they had wrestler heads on them.
Yep.
Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. I've been really enjoying it. It's two guys that are actually professional wrestlers for WWE, but they talk about the toys they collected when they were kids. They still collect as adults. And there was a hilarious conversation about fig baths. If you are someone that collects vintage toys, or you buy from garage sales, or anything that you want to buy, like if you decided, you know what, I'd really like to have all the vintage Masters of the Universe figures. However you got them, you'd probably end up needing to clean them up. Our pal Sean Reed, Red Ranger, he collects the vintage Masters of the Universe, and he has to clean them up pretty frequently. So they're talking about giving their figures the old fig bath.
Right.
Which in their case, they're talking about the Hasbro's WWF figures and LJN's, the big rubber wrestlers. Even if you didn't collect them, you've seen them, you remember them.
Okay.
And they're talking about when you get them, they're dirty, you got to give them a little fig bath.
Sure.
So one of the hosts, Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah.
Kurt Hawkins is like, you take them in the sink, you get a little, liquid soap or whatever, and you wash them up. And he's like, that's what normal people do. Zach, on the other hand, he's like, whoa, wait a minute. The other host is like, I don't think it's that crazy. Apparently, Zach Ryder, the other host, literally takes them into the shower with him during his normal showering.
That's a strong choice.
He's bathing, cleaning his figures up naked in the shower.
Like, does he have like a shelf that he's like, how does he wash himself?
Well, these guys make good money. So I imagine that he does have a pretty nice stand-up shower with spots to put.
That.
And to a certain extent, if I had a nice stand-up shower with I can see that. But at the same time, grown 30-something-year-old dude, because they're about 10 years younger than us, in the shower cleaning up his wrestling toys.
But I can see, think about the sink baby bath. When your kid is like a tiny, like the little baby. But you're giving your kid, you could totally clean figures in that thing.
Yeah.
It sits on the sink. It doesn't get in the sink with the food.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want stranger dirt.
If you are comfortable bathing your
child,
newborn child in it, you could feel comfortable bathing your dirty action figures in it,
or just take them in the shower,
for
a little fig bath. And my favorite part of this whole
shower beer,
fig bath.
There you go.
Get it all knocked out.
Yeah.
You got to multitask in this day and age. But my favorite part of this whole interaction is they actually released a shirt of the two hosts in a big giant bathtub holding wrestling figures.
That's great. I love it.
So I love the fig bath. I'm a big fan of that. And I have a plan in place to get them on the show. It probably will not happen.
That would be great.
But it would be great.
I would worry, obviously some stuff has, old 80s, stuff that would have stickers on it, or, and what do you.
They've actually addressed that, is that if figures have, mechanisms inside, you can't do that. Like, a lot of Masters figures, you wouldn't be able to do that. Well, any of them, really, because they all have the waist
And I would be worried about the rubber and the, that rubber's already last this long.
For those guys, you got to very carefully just dab a little either Goo Gone, a little liquid soap, just do a little scrub.
All right.
That's all you can do. You can't just put them under the faucet.
No.
You got to be careful. So, how much can we talk about while we're here tonight at all, or we need to keep that under wraps?
Oh, no. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, as you wish.
As you wish.
Yeah.
So, you sent me a message a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that, and asked if I would be interested in playing the role of Fezzik in The Princess Bride. Fezzik, played by Andre the Giant, one of the greatest professional wrestling legends of all time. if I would be interested in playing a gigantic human Fessig amidst
a bunch of little puppets.
A bunch of little puppets.
Of all the other characters.
Acting out. Did we know at the time?
We knew that we would have a section of The Princess Bride.
We didn't know which section. Yeah. Okay. Because that's what I was thinking, is we weren't sure what we had at that point. And I mean, one, the opportunity to work with... How public is our third man?
It's very... I mean, it's happening in 2 weeks. Like,
no. But
there's a Facebook event for it.
Does he talk about, like, being one of the janitors and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure, because you don't see him pop up a lot. So Matt's
a very busy guy.
Right,
He doesn't like to put himself out there unless he's on stage.
He hasn't even accepted my Facebook friend request yet.
He's on Facebook.
Right. He is, but he doesn't do anything, clearly.
His page,
his last post was like 2015 or something.
He exists.
Yeah.
And that's about it. He's not an active presence.
One, the opportunity to work with you, who we've done a lot of fun stuff together, but we've never performed together, really.
Not together where we worked on it together. You've asked me to perform at a thing you were doing.
Right.
I've asked you to come perform at a thing
come
I'm
and do
doing.
the game show
nothing
stuff.
That we had to
put together.
Right. Together
to
or
create.
Develop.
We've never created together.
Exactly.
So the opportunity to work with you was awesome. The opportunity to work with the guys behind the Sci-Fi Janitors, holy shit! Yes.
And you were the third person we brought in.
And
it was Matt and Beau, and we've been working together. I mean, we went to high school together. Matt and I have been working together
your whole lives, basically.
More of our lives than we haven't.
Right.
And so and I thought about, well, it can't just be me and Matt. We need another person. And I was like, well, there's this wrestling aspect to this, and having somebody who loves movies, and because that's what it is. I mean, the whole event is a love letter to a movie,
right? Because it's for the Atlanta Film Festival.
Correct.
It's Monday, June 3rd. I think it's the 3rd. That sounds good.
It's called Five
It's
Fits.
It's the first Monday of June.
There you go. It's called Five Fits, and so they took the Princess Bride movie and script, broke it into 5 sections, and distributed them amongst 5 groups, and we got the last section.
Which is crazy, because that's
awesome. And I think that a lot of this developed out of my dear friend Brittany Harper, who's now married. I don't remember her last name changed. But I used to work with her at the center.
Okay.
And she is one of the main organizers of the Fringe. And so when I got the email, I was like, Brittany said they should call Beau. That was what
That's where this came from.
It was like, oh, you wanna do this crazy thing. Beau would bring some weird puppets to it. He'd be really, not just like an acting troupe. He would go in a puppety, weird, puppet slammy direction, which is what we've done.
Well, and I would imagine the point of this is to present 5
very different
forms of entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing this sort of puppetry, very low tech, rough theater, gaggy, goofy, kind of take on it. There's going to be interpretive dance groups. There's going to be groups that are going to take the script and dissect it down and really theater the shit out of it.
Right.
And that's not what we're doing.
And then we get to come in.
Exactly. Then we're going to come in and do our weird little thing with our cardboard and our balloons, and and we'll do our best.
Well, it will be awesome.
I feel good about
our enthusiasm and our on the same pagedness is going to be great.
And the sheer fact that Matt has some, I would even say issues.
Honestly,
he's if anything, he's too close to the source material.
If you and I, for whatever reason, pass out before the show,
he could do the entire show.
He'll be good to go.
He could do the entire movie from beginning to end by memory.
Yeah, if nobody
by
else
himself.
shows up.
He could do the whole thing as
If
one.
nobody else shows up, he'll be fine.
I feel pretty confident saying that.
So yeah, we were tonight. This was our second meeting, trying to figure out what we're going to do.
Well, Matt and I have met without you.
Well, yeah.
Because he was available and you weren't.
Yeah.
So I wanted...
Which probably happens a lot.
Well, no, it doesn't. But it's good for me because having him here makes me responsible for that time and makes me sit down and work and, exactly. So...
Yeah, because it's hard a lot of times when you've got a project or a creative thing you want to do, or like, hey, I'd really like to get on this. It's hard to focus your energies. There's so many...
Well, and this is a collaborative thing, and there are times when I'm good about getting into the zone building-y.
Right.
Like, if I have a building contract where it's very much like, here's the design I have, and I have to, physically build this thing that works. That's very different from the process that we've had, which is a lot of talking it out, throwing ideas around, brainstorming, getting it on its feet, and finding things in the moment. That's really hard to do alone.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at that. I'm not good at the blank page by myself.
The other issue that, as I get older, becomes more of an issue is how fast time goes by.
Oh, yeah.
Because
2 hours? That's nothing.
We're halfway through May.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck did that happen?
Well, when we only meet, once every 2 weeks, leading up to this, that's no time at all.
And that's what, as you get older and you have a family and you have responsibilities and you have shit you got to do, there's no, for me anyway, there's no, okay, every Wednesday night at 8, we'll get together.
Right.
There is nothing that I could give that to.
That's why I don't play D&D anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh. I wish. Ugh.
So, we're working on this. It's going to be awesome. We're super excited. I feel like tonight, the first night we got together, all three of us, I felt like we really figured out what we wanted to do. But tonight, I honestly feel like if magically all of our props were built right now, I think we could do it.
Yeah, I think we could too. And if there's anything I've learned from doing all the Sci-Fi Janitors Puppet Slams at Dragon Con is that I can build stuff and prepare stuff and do all of that, but when it's go time, let Matt drive.
Yeah.
Be there, be responsive, be in the moment, and let Matt drive, and it'll be great.
Very nice. See, that's in doing the game show.
You were driving.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was, and it was a matter of I have expectations. I've told everybody what they need to do, and if anything doesn't work, if anything doesn't happen at the right time, if whatever, then we'll figure it out and we'll keep going. You can't. I can't. I've never. I prepare. I think about things, but I never sweat anything because I feel like once you're up there, you can't think too much. You have to know what you're doing, but you just got to do it. You got to do it, but you've also got to be ready for the door to fall off the stage or the thing whatever it is. You've just got to know. You've got to be in the moment. That's what it is,
and that's Matt's job. And Matt's on the stage of the Atlanta Shakespeare Tavern every day, and has done that basically since he got out of college. He has. We're on stage in front of people, but not like that.
No, not at all.
Not
at all.
And so when you're sharing the stage with him, all of this stuff that we're doing right now, we're putting it together, we're making it happen, and all that kind of stuff. But I know Matt well enough to know that if defer to his instinct,
sure,
in the moment, because he's right.
Well, and that's already just in these 2 nights. There have been a couple instances where we've kind of been trying to hash something out or trying to figure out where the funny moment was or where whatever it was. And generally,
Well, and sometimes I disagree with his instincts, But when we're on stage, like, he knows. Like, when we're talking and hashing these things out here, he knows what the audience is going to like for the most part. Although, I will say, he is a little close to the subject matter on this one. So there are some moments when I'm like, he was like, we have to knock the fruit bowl off twice. Because it happened, and I was like, I'm not making 2 fruit bowls, and we're not knocking them off twice in this fight. I know when to be like, you're too close to the source material. The fruit bowl isn't important.
Well, and he really wanted to do the dagger so bad.
And he can.
And you know what? And that's the thing, is my initial thinking was, I don't
it has
see
to be like this.
How it's, right, and then it
and
totally
I stood
worked.
over here and watched it.
It totally worked.
And it was fine.
Yeah.
He was right.
And that's the other funny thing about putting stuff like this together is so often you might think like, this just isn't going to work. I don't see how this is going to work. And then your partner, your creative partner, whatever it is, will be like, well, here, let's test it. Let's do it. Let's run through it. Whatever.
Especially with puppets, because puppets is just visual. I mean, so much of what we're doing is visual gags. You have to see them to know if they work. I mean, I can sit there and see them in my head all day, but
how they work in reality is often
he's a potato sack with a balloon for a head. Like, it'll be brilliant. I don't know that yet.
And that's the thing, until last time, because we figured that out last time, until we had that blue thing and I started moving it around, we didn't really know that would work visually.
Right.
It seemed good, and that's the other thing, is when you're working with other people, you know how you would do this certain thing, but you can't do everything.
No.
And when somebody else is doing the thing, that's when you see how well it works, or how maybe they do something a little differently than how you do it, and you're like, oh shit, well, if they're doing that, that works better for them.
Right. There's a lot of stuff where I'm like, where Matt's just like, and then you say this, and then I say this, and I'm like, well, you just need to do both of those voices.
Right.
That should just be you.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, you just did it.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's the other thing that's funny, is he'll start going off, and you're like, oh, yeah, he should just do all of that.
You should just do all of that.
Which is great, because this whole time, and to a certain extent I do still feel this way, and I'm okay with it, because when you originally pitched this to me, my first thought was, I'm going to be a prop. Cool. I'm good with that. And I know that wasn't your intent, but going with Fezzik at the end, or going with Fezzik, I'm basically just standing there and delivering Andre the Giant's lines. And I love that it's ended up being more than that.
Oh yeah,
but that's how
I looked at that as, and breaking it down within our piece it was like, oh, okay, Matt's Wesley, I'm an ego, and you're Fezzik. Like, I mean, like, it broke down between the three of us very perfectly, sort of simply. Yeah.
Well, and specifically once we realized we were that last part of the movie,
we can be these people.
It really did.
But then, but it's also getting three people in the room having ideas,
and that's the thing, is that it turned.
No, and it was never going to be.
No, and I didn't think it was. But that was it had that feeling. When you get a project in school, you have to pick two people to work with.
Right.
There's always that one kid who's just kind of like, I'm just here.
Right.
And like, I kind of was like, there's a good chance I'm just going to be that kid on this, but as long as I get in there and can deliver my Andre lines, I'll be okay with it. But it's turned out to be much.
It was I definitely wanted this to be like, all right, guys, what's funny?
Right.
Like,
And we have figured out what's funny.
I agree.
We definitely have.
Well, and you are a consumer of pop culture and are good at articulating what is great about it. And so to take something as popular as The Princess Bride, which is, in our vernacular, I mean, it's people still quote it, to be able to absorb that pop culture and then be like, what are the key parts? What are the parts of this that matter?
What's going to make people pop?
Exactly.
And that's the thing, is it kind of comes back to wrestling, in knowing what's going to make that live crowd pop? What's going to make that live crowd? Does it really matter if we do this thing? Not really. Right. As long as we do this and they recognize it, we've got them.
Yeah.
So that's just come from, I would love if I had more experience getting in front of people and doing things, but just in what I've done, I do feel like I can sort of recognize. I get what live audiences want.
Absolutely.
I think.
Well, that's why I brought the three of us together. Was we all three of us from our different backgrounds come from performing backgrounds.
Yeah.
We are people who get up in front of people.
Yeah.
And whether it's every day like Matt, or whether it's more like you and me, who we do more work behind the scenes, and then we also get up and do some stuff, but are sort of organizers / frontmen.
Yeah.
In a lot of the stuff that we do.
Well, we all have different perspectives.
Right.
And it works for this because this isn't specifically a puppet slam.
No.
It's while it is kind of a niche audience we'll probably be performing for, it is a little broader than
They're
just
theater
that.
people.
Yeah. And that's
Fringe theater people.
Right.
So they're used to things that are weird.
Yes.
So we got that going for us.
And everybody, well, here's the thing. Yes, everybody knows Princess Bride. But everybody who shows up for the Princess Bride thing at the Atlanta Film Festival for sure knows Princess Bride.
Yeah.
So we're much like doing the game show at Dragon Con, where we stick to nerd stuff and pop culture because we know we've got that audience. Like, we have an advantage here. But also, we have to, and this is one thing we ran into with that first meeting, we do have to treat the material with a certain amount of respect.
Absolutely.
Because we're playing to fans. It's not just a bunch of people that wandered into a ballroom. It is people who are specifically there with some knowledge of what we're doing.
Right.
So we have to, because some of the ideas we came up with the first time, we hashed out and we realized, like, oh, this isn't great.
Yeah, this isn't.
We need to go in a different direction because it's not necessarily that it wasn't respectful of the material, but it wasn't honoring the material.
Right.
And that's, I think, what we've come up with is.
Yeah.
Very much
the
so.
Beats, be true to them, make them, clever and funny, but don't change them up too much. And I think that the one place that we did decide to sort of go off script was very appropriate, and I think that, we made an excellent choice.
Well, and that's the
one
thing.
Time to go off book, as it were.
It's one of those magical opportunities where you can be hilariously funny,
right,
but also really honor the material and kind of even raise it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But if the listeners want to know what we're talking about there, you're going to have to show up for the show.
That's right.
First,
see where we go off book. Where we go off script.
Yes. First Monday in June, Atlanta Film Festival. I'm sure if you...
Fringe Festival. Yes.
Atlanta Fringe Festival. I keep saying Film Festival.
I don't do that anymore.
Oh.
That ended poorly.
Atlanta Fringe Festival, which honestly sounds cooler to me.
Oh, yeah.
I like Fringe. Macho Man Randy Savage, big fan of Fringe.
He liked the Fringe.
He did. All right, what else have we got?
Let's see. Top secret Dragon Con stuff.
I don't think we can talk about any top secret Dragon Con stuff. I will say this. I'll lead, and maybe you'll have a couple of things that you can just thoughts about the upcoming Dragon Con. So this year, there's no game show. No game show. Oz and I are taking some time off. We're going to figure out what we're going to do for next year. The Big Damn Game Show is not gone, but other things have come up. One of those things being, gosh, can I even announce this yet? I think I can announce this because it's done. If you are interested, here's what I'll say. If you are interested in seeing Troublemaker, the documentary that the Emmy Award-winning Jason Wilson shot about me in the year plus leading up to Dragon Con 2017. Starting actually with the Halloween Puck and Puppet Show. That was the first night we shot.
That was a good time.
So from October of 2016 up through September of 2017, Jason Wilson followed me around with a camera, put together a documentary film about all the weird shit I do. And it's called Troublemaker, and you can go and Google Troublemaker movie, Duck's Paw Productions. If you're interested in seeing that movie, you will have the opportunity at Dragon Con.
Very nice.
I can't announce details yet because we don't have details yet, but it is...
And the schedule isn't official until Dragon Con happens.
The schedule isn't official until Dragon Con's over.
That's true.
But more details on that will be coming. But yes, Troublemaker will be having its big premiere, big debut appropriately at Dragon Con.
That's excellent.
Because of that, and because...
Did you say what track that would be in?
Of course, it will be the Sci-Fi Classics track presenting that, because that is my home. As much as I love the horror track, as much as I love the puppetry track, and as much as I want to work with everybody as much as I can, Sci-Fi Classics track was the first place where I got my foot in the door, and they're the guys who've supported everything. Yeah. And there are more panels coming from Needless Things this year as well. But yeah, I'm super stoked. I can't wait to show this to people. I cry every time I watch it. It's
how if I wanted to watch it right now, if I was a listener, how could I do so?
You can't.
No.
It has not been officially released yet. However, once we're done recording, I might be able to bring it up just for Mr. Beau Brown.
We can see.
We can see. So that's happening. But this year at Dragon Con, I don't think DCW is going to be part of my plans.
Are they still doing Thursday? Or?
They're still doing Thursday. But last year I bailed on that, and it was a good decision. So anything that gets, basically anything that the horror track, I have panels on the Sci-Fi Classics track. Anything that the horror track or the puppetry track throw my way, I'm there for.
I think I probably have something for you.
Anything I'm there for. But other than that, I'm gonna kind of just have an old-fashioned Dragon Con.
Aw, what's that like?
And party. I know.
I wish.
I know. Well, that's the thing, is like, I'm excited about that, but at the same time, not having that game show prep there's a hollow spot in my soul right now.
Well, see, this year is a non-National Puppet Slam year.
So it's almost like a fun time for you.
Right. Every 2 years we do the National Puppet Slam during Dragon Con, and it's like doing another third of Dragon Con.
I don't know how you fucking do it. I don't know how you handle a regular year at Dragon Con. Let alone.
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because that I have Elizabeths and Whitneys and Katies in my life.
Right.
And I have literally an army of incredibly strong and talented women behind me that basically just sort of like hold my corpse up and parade it through the ordeal that is Dragon Con.
I have to address something that I feel horrible about. And I'm going to do it here live on the show, even though it makes me look really, really bad. Because it's something that was from last year. It's something that I've been meaning to ask you about since it happened. And I'm going to do it right now, because everybody is a jackass or a dickhead, or is in some way not as on top of everything as they should be from time to time.
Oh, sure.
And I want everybody to know that it happens to all of us. Last year at the one of the puppetry track events, a young lady came up to me and said, "Hey, made very nice conversation. It was great seeing you." And I made a horrible mistake, but it was genuine. But I said, It was so nice meeting you. It was just never, ever, listeners, never say it was so nice meeting you. Say it was so nice talking to you.
Right.
It was so nice seeing you.
Nice
it
to
was
see you,
great hanging out. Never say it was nice meeting you, because she knew me.
Had met you many times.
Many times.
Yeah.
And I already am not great with faces. And if I haven't sat down and had a big conversation, really, if I haven't had some sort of more intimate than just, hey, it's nice to meet you. You're doing this, I'm doing this, cool, awesome. I'm fucking terrible with faces. I just am. And and she said, to her credit, she said, I'm so-and-so. I've known you for like 2 years. You've been doing stuff for the puppetry track, like with something along those lines. I felt like such a piece of shit. And she, younger girl, had her septum pierced.
That's Kira.
Kira. I felt like, and I still feel like the world's biggest asshole over that.
Kira's been doing public slams as long as I have.
I know.
She was my apprentice. She used to come over every week, and we would build my contracts together.
And I
Kira's
feel horrible, but in my defense, I've probably interacted with her maybe 2 or 3 times total.
Sure. In the way that y'all circles have crossed, probably not that many times.
And I'm big, giant, tattooed, purple and green mask guy. She's one of... And look, I don't want this to be dismissive, but she is one of many girls on the puppetry track that I have very briefly said, hey, cool, thank you so much, whatever. Like, I am more recognizable than most people.
Sure. I'll tell you this about Kira. Kira is my number one go-to second puppeteer. If there is somebody who's like, for example, the incredible Mark Meer. Every year, Mark Meer is like, hey, this guy that writes the Bongo comics, he's written this sketch, and I'm going to do a puppet show of it. And I need another puppeteer. Kira is the go-to. Kira is always the person that I say, and now they know each other because they've worked together for several years, but she is the quickest study. You can hand her a puppet and a script. She is the quickest person to pick that thing up. She is unbelievably good at showing up with no planning and you handing her stuff and her running with it. Because she has been a library circuit puppeteer for Piccadilly Puppets right here in Atlanta for years and years and years. She has done the work in the trenches of puppetry that I haven't done.
And you have put her over on the show many times. Because as soon as you said Kira, my brain clicked. And I was like, Beau has mentioned her just about every time you've been on the show. So, I know who she is,
She's
but
the real
visually,
yeah, exactly.
I just haven't had that much interaction. And like I said, I feel terrible.
Well, but it's also the puppeteer thing. She's usually behind the playboard.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah.
She's in the back of the room at the puppetry track working the door.
Right.
Or she's behind the playboard. She's not up on front on stage introducing things.
Clearly,
hey, everybody, look at me.
Clearly we had enough interaction at that point where she did feel...
She did feel like, you should probably know me by now.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
to her credit, she was right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, no, in no way am I saying she was wrong to be like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
So.
No, Kira's an excellent colleague, and the fact that she continues to volunteer, because all my people are volunteers for the puppetry track, is such a blessing, because I know that whenever somebody asks me, hey, can you have somebody, do you have a local puppeteer? Yes, I do.
Well, this year, I'm going to make a point of seeking her out and saying, I'm so sorry, I'm a jackass. And, Kira, I apologize.
Well done.
But I'm really bad with faces, unless you have like horns growing out of your head or something, or your septum pierced.
Note to self: if you want Dave to notice you, grow horns.
Yes.
And get your septum pierced.
Yes. Or tell me the history of bananas in North America.
Who told you that?
That was, oh gosh, Maya?
Well, you didn't remember. But that does sound like a story that Maya would tell.
Maya, yes, it's Maya. Well, here's the funny thing. I can pull up my Google Keep notes right now, and she did such a good job of presenting this to me that I have a Google Keep note called Bananas, the Fish That Swallowed the Whale.
Wow.
That I don't have the book yet. But I actually took a note because she straight up told me. She was like, this is going to bore the shit out of you. And when you want me to shut up and go away, you tell me. But I'm going to tell you all about the history of bananas in North America. And I was like, you know what? You've got my attention.
That is such a Maya thing to do.
You go, and I will, and I was totally honest when I said this, I will let you know when I'm not interested anymore. And she got through her whole pitch because it was fucking fascinating.
She is a performer, and she's very entertaining.
Right.
She has great delivery. Right. Yeah, no, Maya, one year coming back from the O'Neill Puppetry Conference, which I'm going to in a couple of weeks.
Beau, you do know we have a show.
We've talked about it on the show
June.
a lot. Yeah. Well, no, yeah, right after that.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I think I leave on the 7th. So I leave at the end of that week.
3 days after.
Right.
That's fine. You got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. But on the one,
to prepare
one of the
for
years,
literally the biggest puppetry event in America?
No.
No?
I
thought this O'Neill thing was huge.
It is huge, but it's not the biggest. I mean, the festivals are bigger than the conference.
Oh, really?
The conference has like 100 people at it. It's an intensive. It's a smaller group of people doing really, really hard work. Not the festival where it's like, hey, we're going to see shows.
So it's not as big, but it's literally the best puppeteers in America.
Not necessarily. It's a lot of the best young and up and coming talented people who haven't quite found their thing yet.
Okay.
It's a vehicle for meeting the best and brightest of the younger generation, and have the opportunity to work with really great mentors. There's a lot. I mean, it's one of my. It's the O'Neill is the only place that I like as much as Dragon Con.
Oh wow,
and that's saying something.
Well, it's got to be a place to get revitalized too.
It is. It's a very intense. I mean, you shut the entire world out and you live, breathe, and eat puppets for a week and change.
If only there was something like that for game show hosts.
Maybe there is.
I should look into that.
There might be game show host camp.
I feel like that would be intolerable.
You know what? Let's start a game show host camp.
Oh man,
if one doesn't exist, and corner the market.
My plate is full. There's just no way.
This, it'd be like guys going to jazz camp. You go to
camp.
You go to game show host camp or horror camp. Or like
horror camp. Yeah.
Brian went to horror camp.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did. He literally went and camped out and was hunted by a stalker,
right?
A slasher.
Let's do
game
that.
Show host camp.
But
it's 6 a.m. Get up on that stage and tell us all about the Electrolux vacuum cleaner, you maggot. Oh, that sounds wonderful. I'm on it. Let's do it. All right. Believe it or not, we have been talking for an hour now.
I believe it.
How do we wrap this up? What cherry do we put on top of this conversational pie?
Well, I will finish my Maya story. That we were driving back from the O'Neill, and I got horribly sick. There was a puppet plague that just swept through the conference.
Is the O'Neill in the same place every time, or does it move?
Connecticut. So the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center in Connecticut.
Okay.
On the coast, it's in thing. It's beautiful. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's lovely. And although the weather does go from paradise to prison camp very quickly. Yes, that is a true statement. It just entirely depends on the weather. And anyway, so I'm horribly sick and ill, and it's a very, very long drive back. Amy Rush, a saint. We were up there, and we'd driven up there together, and she drove back, and we stayed at Maya's parents' house outside D.C. I was so sick that I hallucinated in their guest room. I like became lucid in their bathroom. I had no idea how I got there. It was horrible. I could do none of the driving. A poor Saint Amy did all 2 days of driving back from Connecticut to Atlanta.
My gosh.
But I was completely useless and like a feverish disaster.
So not only is she driving,
she's driving like a guy who just like breathing.
She has to deal with a weird sick Beau.
Yeah, it was awful. And after that, I was like, I'm never driving to the O'Neill ever again. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You're going to pour my ass into a plane at the end of it, and you're going to pour me out into my bed, and then I'm going to not leave for 24 hours. And the only thing that makes me need the recovery like Dragon Con is...
Sure. Well, I would imagine it's draining.
24. I need 24 hours of sleep, period. I need silence and darkness for 24 hours, and there is no getting around it. I just have to, like...
Well, and that's the thing, though, because as much as I talk about how my day job, my money job, sucks the life out of me, and it does, but Dragon Con, when I'm having a big creative year, when we're doing the game show, when I'm doing a bunch of panels, whatever, it's so much more draining because I'm voluntarily giving everything that I have. Every bit of myself is being poured out for 4 days. And that Monday, I got nothing. Neil's like a full week, isn't it?
It's a week and change. You can go for almost two weeks.
I can't even imagine.
That's the pre-conference and the main conference, and I don't go to the pre-conference because I have kids. I can only do the main conference. I just can't be away that long.
Because as fulfilling as it is to pour yourself into something like that, I can't imagine sustaining it for more than...
but it's also, there's the beauty. I mean, there's the beauty of doing this deep dive and being surrounded, especially at the O'Neill, where the only people around you are people who get you.
So you are pouring yourself in, but you're feeding on it too.
You are meeting the people who become friends for the rest of your life.
Right.
Because there is an unspoken understanding that puppeteers are a certain kind of people, and that we just get each other when we're around each other, and there's an ability to open up and feel safe to talk about things, knowing that this breed of people that you happen to be around right now are just going to get you in a way that you're just not used to. You get that at Dragon Con, but there's also 80,000 people there, and you do meet those people, but not in such a concentrated setting like the O'Neill, where you're also under a lot of creative pressure to deliver.
Well, and it's energizing.
Your emotions are frayed, and
it's energizing just to know, oh shit, there are people like me.
Yes.
Like just that.
Well, and in my first experience as a teenager at Dragon Con, 13-year-old Dragon Con, that was the first time I'd ever had that experience. That very, very powerful moment that where suddenly you don't feel like you're totally alone.
Right.
Holy crap, it's the realization there are people out here like me. I haven't been just living in this bubble my entire life. There are other people that can relate to me in a way that people I've previously met in my life haven't.
My life is one of the since I became an Oingo Boingo fan a couple of years ago. There is a song on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yes, man, that song makes me almost cry.
Yep.
Every time, because it's too on the nose. It's too much. And I feel like our day-to-day lives is so much that, and then we go somewhere like Dragon Con or like the O'Neill, and we get to feel like we're not on the outside anymore. We get to feel like, man, we're there. There are people that I can relate to. I'm not the only one that has these passions, that feels this way, that is into these things, and like, nerd stuff's bigger than it's ever been. But this is a conversation I've had a lot of times. sure, superficially, it's a big part of pop culture. But there's a difference between liking a Captain America movie and having the passion to create and to look at things beyond just the world that we see every day.
Well, and that's what I try to explain to people about fandom. And I think that Adam Savage has articulated this very well. Geeks don't casually like things.
Right.
Geeks love things.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of passion. Like, there's the word geekgasm exists for a reason. You know, like, there are moments when you experience things that raise the hairs on your body.
Yes. Nerd chills,
yeah,
I call it.
Yeah.
When the Fox fanfare plays at the beginning of the Star Wars movies, nerd chills.
Right.
Every single time.
There's a visceral reaction that some people have and some people don't.
Yeah.
And being around those other people who share that same sort of investment and excitement is really validating for people. Now, specifically at the O'Neill, we're under a lot of creative pressure, and we're around people who finally understand us. And what happens then is that all of the armor that we build around ourselves to exist in normal society gets stripped away. It's like peeling an onion. It's like being an exposed nerve towards the end of the O'Neill. And one of the things that we talk about a lot towards the end is that reentry is hard. It's very, very difficult to experience a place where you feel like you can actually be completely open with people and share things that you do not feel comfortable sharing around other people.
Right.
And to let that armor fall. And then go back to the real world.
Reassimilate.
And it can be very depressing. We have a sort of support group type stuff that we do during reentry because we all get it. Like, I know what it feels like. You walk back out to the real world after this experience, and you're just like a deer in the headlights. And you look at regular people, and you're really uncomfortable.
Well, it's like the Wizard of Oz. It's like everything has been in beautiful Technicolor, and all of a sudden it's black and white again. And our friend Joshua, his performance at the Slam a few years ago, Wear a Cape.
Wear a Cape.
That was it, man. Every single person in the room was crying because being there at Dragon Con all together, we all knew exactly what it was.
And I think that Joshua's been really, and that's why when Joshua's been at Dragon Con since that first time with Wear a Cape, it was, I know your talents, Joshua, and sight unseen, I want to let you close the Dragon Con Puppet Slam, which is the cherry on top of the entire puppetry track. This is it. This is the last blowout. Nothing on Monday. We stumbled through Monday. Aretta is the driving force that somehow manages to be full of energy on Monday when everybody else is ready to crawl her under a rock and die. And Aretta brings us home. And I knew that for a lot of people, the Dragon Con Puppet Slam, that's it. That's their last major memory. That's their last big thing, other than like struggling out of the hotel room and packing all the shit up. That part sucks.
No, that's my that Puppet Slam. That's my big finish. That's the main event for me.
And it's the big finish for a lot of people. And so the idea that I can have somebody like Joshua, who I trust implicitly, to say, I don't know what you're going to do, but I trust you to write something in the next 2 days that speaks to this place and speaks to those people. And he brought the house down. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
He's...
that's what he can do.
Thanks to you, he came on the show. And he and I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of smart people. I've talked to a lot of earlier tonight we were talking about the various range of beliefs and ideologies and whatever else. I've talked to a lot of different kinds of people. I think he's the most sensitive and intelligent person I've ever had on the show. And every sentiment he expressed was powerful. It was a very good conversation. And for the listeners, if you haven't heard it, go back in the archives and find Joshua. Man, it was a, it's funny, the very special episode of like Punky Brewster or whatever, but it really was a special episode.
Puppeteers are special people. That's part of what it is that when we're around each other, we're like, whoa, there is something weird about us and what drew us to this path, and that we find this weird common ground and this sense of vulnerability around each other. And I'm sure that's like that with any sort of, you can, when I get together with my fly fishing buddies, like...
Right.
That
camaraderie is
exactly.
whatever
shared
whatever your bent is. But I will say, even though I'm not a puppeteer, my favorite times and the times that I've felt the most comfortable have been at the puppetry track gatherings.
Well, we try to create puppetry is human.
Yes.
It's
universal.
It is. There's something about making little versions of ourselves that we love. We love that shit.
We've been doing it for a long time.
As long as there have been people, there have been puppets. And so I think that there is something innately human about puppeteers, those people who choose to walk that path, that we get humanity in a sort of unique way, in the way that our craft presents it. I think there's something that draws particular kind of people to that. We're going to tell stories with objects and without words when possible, and communicate on a very basic human level. That's
exactly what I was going to say. Is I think there's a passion and an innate talent for communicating life at a very universal level, a need to connect and to communicate on that level that no other medium can convey in the way that puppetry does. And that's what makes you guys so special.
We think so. Thank you.
All right, we got to wrap it up, Mr. Beau Brown. Here's what I want to do. We're going to pick up the Recordotron 5000. All right. And we're going to walk across your Castle Grayskull rug, which is a great rug, by the way.
It is great.
We're going to walk past
the playboard.
Through the rehearsal space. With the puppetry hat that I will be wearing. What is this called?
Hood.
The hood that I will be wearing.
A puppetry
hood. Very excited about that. And a Holocaust cloak.
Double.
So we're standing here taking in your collection. You've got a good number of items that I do not have. And actually, you know what? What I'm going to do, for the listeners, this is not going to be great for you guys, but what I'm doing is walking back across the room to get my phone so we can real quick Instagram a live...
So many of my girls are falling down right now. They're
Man, that's just how toy collections go.
So many girls with weak ankles.
So, live right now, we're recording the Needless Things podcast and on Instagram. We're looking at Mr. Beau Brown's Masters Universe Classics collection, which is unparalleled because you have like everything, right? And this Mondo guy.
I do have the one Mondo.
Mondo that's out.
Skeletor, who hasn't arrived yet.
And now you're desperately trying to stand up your people that have fallen over.
That's the girls.
Here's Guygor. What is this yellow gorilla's name?
Guygor.
It is Guygor. I was right.
You got it.
I have him, and I can't remember. So anyway, that was live on Instagram, some Needless Things podcast. I hope it saves it to my phone so I can post it some other time later. But anyway,
This is this week's Needless Things podcast, so please do check back in for the full episode. Pop. Frosta. So anyway, for those of you that are listening with just the audio, that probably wasn't super interesting. But anyway, we're looking at the full collection here. You fixed all the ladies. Everything's straightened up now for our audio listeners. Guy Gore is going back in his spot. I rescued him from the floor earlier and scared Matt, which is kind of awesome. I love your Filmation stuff.
Thank you.
I have not followed you into the Filmation realm.
I like the way that they look. And they're giving us some characters through the Filmation line that we weren't going to get otherwise, like Dial-A-Mug, who's like, look at that guy. I mean...
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. But what we're going to do to close this thing out...
All right.
I'm going to put you in a tough spot, Mr. Beau Brown.
Oh, you're going to ask me, like, what's my favorite guy?
I am going to ask you to pick one guy and one girl that just jump off the shelf that you're like, holy shit, that is an amazing figure.
Okay, well, my girl is easy. I still think Catra's the best female figure. I like all the rest, but there's something about the way that the gloss, like, she has the glossy parts, she has the matte parts. She's perfect. Easily, Catra is...
And she has that hand. That Catra hand is great.
Hand, the hair, the mask, everything. I just think that they nailed her. She's perfect.
All right.
There's a lot of other great ladies.
But who's your dude?
But who's the dude?
I'll tell you, looking right now, just from the other side here, that Horde Mummy.
The Horde Mummy
is jumping out.
He was probably the figure I was most excited about in that year of releases. He fits completely in with the rest of the Horde as
he works.
Monsters.
He works.
Mantenna's the Fly, and we got the creature from Black Lagoon, and the Wolfman, and vampires.
Right.
He was the mummy guy,
but he's not your pick. Who's your pick? You got to choose because I got to pee. I'm probably going to come around there and pee in your sink in a second.
I think I've said this before. I want to kind of go with Too Bad.
Too Bad. Interesting. He does. I mean, he stands out. He really does.
You can see, like, he's got this nice prominent place. He's way out here in front. I think that, for a character that wasn't the standard buck,
right?
They really just...
He's an above and beyond.
Yeah.
He's an above and beyond.
Mantenna is up there. I love Classics Mantenna, and I think that when we did our review, he was my figure of the year.
But he's great, but he's a little goofy.
Well...
I mean, he's good.
When he's a little more horrored up for the Classics version.
Horrored up?
Horrored up.
Look at that tart.
Whereas he's a little more close to the...
All right, we're going to have to pause because I got to pee right now. You're sitting here watching me dancing around.
I was expecting you to stop.
You're drawing it out. I'm still recording. You keep talking.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I felt like as much as Mantenna was fantastic, he's a little creepier, like a little over-designed Classics-wise. They really wanted to make him a lot scarier, whereas I feel like Too Bad is a much more solid homage to the character rather than trying to sort of Four Horsemen-y and him up and make him creepier and scarier. I think he's one of the most excellent executions of a figure who had some design challenges. He has the double torso and the two heads and everything. So he had a lot of new parts on him. He has probably 2 pre-existing parts on him between his blue thigh and blue upper arms. Everything else is new parts. So there's a lot of new stuff going on there. I would also say that Ram Man is up there with Mantenna. If I had to pick, my top 5, I would put Ram Man up there. Let's see.
That was totally fascinating. I was absolutely.
I'm putting
riveted.
Ram Man up there with that. In if I had to pick a top 5, it'd be Ram Man, Mantenna. But I do think that Too Bad is up there as probably my favorite.
I like that you picked a top 5 and named 3 figures.
Well, I'm looking around at what would my
Karg looks really good too.
That Karg does look really good.
But I'm glad
he's nowhere
we're getting,
on the top of my list.
I'm glad we're getting a legit movie Karg.
Absolutely. Well, I think that it was a great cost saving measure to do the full line.
Yeah.
And get it made, and it was a great way for them to skimp around the movie rules previously to give us a Karg if the movie line had never happened.
Right.
So they really fed into each other.
And I like that Knightlick gave them credit for figuring out how to do that. All right.
Well, and he couldn't have done it. I mean, it was just like
because it was Mattel.
We're Mattel. They would never. He would never. The only reason Super 7 got to do it was because they weren't Mattel.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got to wrap up our visit at Brownton Abbey.
Here at Brownton Abbey.
Mr. Beau Brown, thank you so much for letting me hang out for an additional hour and 24 minutes here.
Yeah, man.
And what do we? You got anything? Where can we find? You want to put over the Center for Puppetry Arts on Instagram, right?
Yeah, you can check out the Center for Puppetry Arts on Instagram. We do all sorts of puppety related stuff there and promoting our shows. And we have a cool new Puppets and Pints season.
Ooh.
Come and check out our awesome Worlds of Puppetry Museum, which has the Dark Crystal exhibit. It's got the Jim Henson collection, Sesame Street, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, the Muppets, all that stuff in a relaxed, child-free environment.
Ooh.
A lot of the times when you come to the center, there's school groups and kids everywhere, and that's great. We love that.
Yeah.
However, if you just want to chill with Kermit and Big Bird, sometimes it's nice to do that when there's not 50 screaming kids there. So Puppets and Pints, they're going to be themes. The first theme is going to be Game of Thrones.
Oh shit!
We're doing Game of Puppets.
When?
It is in, I believe, the first week of June. So check out Puppets and Pints.
You won't actually be here for it.
No, I might be here for it, or I might have already left. But it's not my event.
Puppets and Pints. Holy
Puppets
shit!
And Pints, man.
I want to go to that.
The bar is open. Get a drink. Go see the museum. Chill out. There's going to be activities, Game of Thrones-y activities.
Oh my gosh!
We're going to do a Harry Potter one. We're going to do a Super Spy one. Yeah, new museum programming, Puppets and Pints.
Oh wow! I'm down with this.
Yeah, man.
Awesome, Mr. Beau Brown. Thank you for the conversation.
My pleasure.
And I look forward to being back over here in just a few days for our final
week.
Well, maybe not final. We may have one more.
Hopefully we can get one more.
Hopefully we can get one more in. I'd like to do a full costume run through.
We will definitely do that.
Cool. Thanks, man.
One more thing.
Oh, what?
Good journey.
That was an absolutely delightful evening, and I do, if you happen to be listening, I do want to apologize to the gentleman who missed out on the Star Wars figures. If you hear this and you contact me and you have not found those Star Wars figures yet, I will sell them to you for the regular price of whatever. So yeah, if you heard this and you're like, I think he's talking about me, I am, and just shoot me a message on the old Facebook, and we'll work that out, and we'll get you your Star Wars figures. So that's all I've got. Like I said, please do check out MomoCon. Please do check out the Atlanta Fringe Festival. I'm trying to think what else might be coming up. Go to needlessthingspodcast.com. Check out all of our posts about Game of Thrones, toy reviews, all kinds of pop culture stuff. I just today finally picked up the 112 Collective Blade, and I will be reviewing that soon. I also have Mezco's new King Kong of Skull Island, which is not from the movie Skull Island. It's just a King Kong figure that looks absolutely incredible. I'm going to be reviewing that really soon. And I will probably be talking a lot about the wrestling figures that I'm buying, because I already have bought the most recent Dusty Rhodes figure that is amazing. I'm getting ready to put some pictures up on Instagram right now. And I have Harlem Heat on the way, one of my favorite tag teams of all time. So check out Needless Things. Spread the word about the Needless Things podcast. If you see me at MomoCon, please come up and say hi and take a picture and do whatever all we do. And just everybody have fun. Everybody have a great time. I know stuff gets busy, life gets hectic, but try and remember the fun stuff and try and make your own fun and also your own time to relax. I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.